Hello. Cubase's inbuilt audio correction tool, Variaudio, is fantastic. And I'm going to show you just how good it is by doing some work on some harmony lines that I've recorded in. Now, I haven't even listened to these yet. I recorded these in this morning and I've not even listened to them back. I can tell you, however, that they are catastrophic. I can't sing for all the tea in China. But by the end of it, we're going to end up with harmonies that hopefully sound pretty good. I've got no idea. I don't know how bad this is, but I figured the best way to show you Variaudio and how I actually use it is to give you a real example. So this here is the section of the song that I'm going to be working on. This is Shades of Blue. I'll put a link to this to the Back on Track series for this song somewhere. So I've written some harmonies for it. So if I just mute these for the moment, there are two harmony lines at this point in the song. This is the first one. Okay, and this is the second one. Okay, those are the two lines we're going to be working against. So the first thing that I do is, because my singing is so bad, I'm not even accurate to the semitone. So I have to make a note of what notes I'm actually singing. So these are the MIDI played chorus lines. Ignore the one bar lead in. We're only actually working from bar 57 onwards. So I'm just going to make a quick note of what these notes are, and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so the first line we've got A G A B, and the second line is E D C G. There it is. So now when we go into Variaudio, you'll see that I'm really not very close at all. So when you're working with lanes like this, only one. So I've recorded, basically I had the song looping round and I sang many takes. Some of them are one of the melody lines, some of them are the harmony lines. And you can see that one is always slightly darker than the others. This is the currently active part. So if we open this and open Variaudio and click this Edit Variaudio button, it will now process the audio on that track, and there we are. Now then, I've got some keyboard shortcuts set up that you want to have in use for this purpose. First one is zoom locators, so that just centers the bit that we're working on, and I never work on more than 6 bars. That's quite a lot. I generally work on 4 bars at a time to really let you see some definition in the notes. And because we're going to be working with pitch, I have another shortcut, zoom vertically, something like zoom waveform vertically or something like that. So now I can see that's the whole part that I'm going to be working with, and you can see that at the moment, I'm not really that close. This is supposed to be an A. Let's drag it up. The first time you do any editing, it throws that message at you and you won't see it again. So this is me coming up to the A. There's playing the A, and then I've got a G, A, B. So I've done worse than this in the past. And that's supposed to be a B. That's almost an A sharp, but it should be there. Okay, so I've got this soloed at the moment so I can hear it. Okay, so pretty horrible, but you'll hear worse than that. So these are the various things that you can do now to fix it. The most difficult bit to fix is these where you've got a big sweep over multiple notes. So the first thing that we want to do is get rid of that little kink in the wave as it's coming up. If I click this square at the top of the box and drag down, it smooths that note out. But you don't want to do it too much, because can you see at the beginning and end of this segment of the audio that it's analysed, if I drag it too much, you're going to get these really hard edges at one point and the other. And if they're too intense, then you'll hear audio artifacts in the sound. So dragging it left and right basically lets you change the position of the pitch in time. So let's see what that sounds like. That's okay. Not fantastic, but you won't catch that. There's a tiny little nick in the sound as you hear it. But you won't hear that in the mix. Now, this is the main note. You can see that I'm all over the place. So the first thing that I'm going to do is smooth it out a bit. So at the top of the section of audio that we're dealing with, you're going to get this little box, straighten pitch curve. If I click that and drag down, it just makes everything less horrific. Then, because I've done this so many times, I can see visually that that starts flat and then it ends up kind of okay. So I want to grab this box on the left hand side and it says tilt. So it's going to tilt about this axis. That little diamond at the top is the tilt rotate anchor. So when I drag this box, it rotates around that point. So I can straighten that curve up. Okay. On the other side, I've got this where that's not too bad. It's a little bit flat. And then I go sharp. So I can't really fix both of those things at the same time. So what I do is if I move my hand down to this line at the bottom of the box, I can split the segment and now I can process these two things separately. So this section of the note wants to get dragged up to smooth it. And on this side, I want to drag this up as well to straighten that side up. But now this entire part of the note is too high. So I hold the shift key down, grab the middle of the box, the section, and pull down. And by holding the shift key, it basically lets me freely move this note wherever I want. If I let go of the shift key and move, it moves in whole notes at a time. And now that note is pretty much flat. Let's see what it sounds like. Okay, next note. This G down here, even though I dip below G into the F sharp thing, at the beginning of notes, those things are kind of okay. That's what actually gives notes character, in my opinion. So I'm not going to take too much of it off, but I'm just going to smooth it a little bit to bring it fully into the range of the G note. So if I grab this straighten pitch curve and just smooth it off a little bit, that will sound fine. This note over here, you see the entire thing is sloping down until it gets to the end. So what I'm going to do with this note is I'm going to rotate the entire thing. So I'll do that by grabbing this tilt anchor, the thing that ordinarily would just do one side or the other. If I just undo that. Instead, I'm going to press Alt and then grab, and now it says tilt. And this rotates the entire thing so I can flatten it off. Once it's flat, I then grab my straighten pitch curve tool and smooth it a little bit. Then finally this note up here is just too erratic. Grab the straighten tool. Now most of that note is okay, but the beginning is still too harsh. Cut it up. Straighten that bit a little bit more, and now it's too high. You see the middle of this note is where it really wants to be in an ideal world. So I'll press the shift key, drag it down a little bit. Let's have a listen to that whole thing. Okay, so it's just that artifact at the beginning. It's not great, is it? Let's see what we can do about that. Might just have to ease off a little bit on some of the processing that I did over here. Just let some of that go to take away those hard edges. This one as well. It's about as good as we're going to get. Now, there are situations in which I'll say that's just not good enough. I can't fix it. It's actually worse now than it was previously. One more. Let's hear what it sounds like in context. Okay. Now that's just one harmony part. I've got multiple layers of harmonies here, so I'll do a couple more. And I'm doing this live. So as I find interesting things to show you, I'll edit those together, and then at the end we'll hear the whole thing, the whole composite harmony, and hopefully it will sound good. So let's have a look at the next one. So we click the Variaudio button, edit Variaudio, hit zoom to locators, then increase our height a little bit. Okay, this looks really bad at the front. Okay, so over here where it's so dramatic, I'm going to correct a little bit of that. If I pick that note up and drag it up to the A where it should be, and this one as well, and this one I'll just bring it to about there. The next note is supposed to be a G. This is way too low. Bring that up, bring that down. This is supposed to be an A. That's supposed to be a B. Okay, and then we start working from there. So Cubase does the best it can to put a note on the right pitch point, but if your singing is very bad, it really can't make any sense of what it is you're trying to actually do. Now this big dip here, I might cut that out and process manually. So if I cut there, smooth that bit off, it allows me to maintain some of the character. All of this chatter in the sound, that's where the character of the sound is. If it was completely flat, it would sound very computer-like and horrible. So we want to maintain some of the human quality of the sound, but it's also important that it be in pitch. So I'm just using my shift key to move these blocks up and down, and you see how Cubase does as good as it can to join them all together sensibly. This one over here, the lead in is now a little bit flat, and all of this is tailing off, and then I'll shift drag the whole thing down. At the end it's all a bit of a nightmare. Cut it up, smooth it off. Don't want this tail to be too sharp, so that's about as much as I can do. And then I'll tilt a little bit, see what that sounds like. Okay, not bad. Smooth, smooth, smooth this. This up here is too slopey, so I'll grab the tilt bar, drag it down. All of this is way too active. Smooth it off a little bit. Maybe this front bit, smooth even more. Tilt it down a bit. At the end, I'm just tailing away. I'll grab the tilt bar, pull that up. Now that's all a little bit too sharp. Shift key, drag down. What does that sound like? Okay. So that's two done. On to the next. Okay, so for this point, this is the bit that slopes up. So I grab my tilt anchor, drag it to the point where I want my tilt to rotate around, and now when I drag this, it just tilts the end. Smooth this off, tilt this down a little bit. It's really intuitive to work visually. So I've not even listened to that while I've been editing it. Let's hear what it sounds like. There's a bit of a kind of dry, raspy thing going on, but that's my voice, so there's not much I can do about that. This front bit is taking too long. It takes too long to get there. Grab the warp end, pull it in, grab this part, pull it across. That bit should be okay actually. Oh no, just do a little bit. See what that sounds like. Better. That's that one done. On. Don't get too precious about making vocals be perfect. They're not supposed to be perfect. They're just supposed to be in tune. So here we are processing the other harmony line now. And you can see at the beginning that it doesn't quite know what to make of this part. It's just not sung accurately enough for it to really make very much sense. So it's split it into all of these different parts. Of course, I know that it is all supposed to be an E, I think. E, D, C, G is supposed to be the pattern for this section. So I can glue all of those together. If you, on this little line at the bottom, in the middle it's a, well, showing you a bigger part. In the middle it's a pair of scissors, and at the end it's a glue gun. So I can stick them all together and then it'll process them all as one go. If I just Control Z to undo those operations, if I select all of those parts and then click the glue, it sticks them all together all in one go. Nice little shortcut for you. And now that it's interpreting it as a single part, I can pick it up, drag it onto E where it's supposed to be. You get that message, which you always do. I've just ignored it, I've got no idea what it's talking about. This is supposed to be a D, this is supposed to be a C, and that's supposed to be a G, so that's close enough. So now this big spike needs to be smoothed out. If I grab the box, smooth that one a little bit, smooth that one a little bit, and there you go. That's visually correct. If it's visually correct, more often than not it's going to sound right. That's why Variaudio is so incredible. I'm actually editing by eye, and it works. So I'm tilting this up so that this waveform is more or less flat, but it's now too sharp. So I click Shift, drag down with the cursor, and tilt it a little bit more. That's the front part fixed. So up to there we're okay. This entire thing slopes, so I'll grab it, tilt it up. That's nice. I've maybe gone a little bit far there. See what that sounds like. That's fine. So after I finished all the editing, I actually changed my mind on how I wanted the vocal harmonies to work together. See this harmony over here that has the extended note that goes down to the G and then up. That point there is 3 beats into the bar, and I want everything to sync together. There was the sounds weren't quite harmonizing properly because this part over here was previously like 2.5 beats long, so I literally just extended that part. So now all the harmony lines have a change at this 3 beat mark, and it sounds tighter now. All of these harmonies, let's have a look at another one. Variaudio. There you go. You see you've got that note change at 3 beats. Some of them have got 2 beats in this space of 3 beats. Some of them have only got 1, but they all have this crossover there at 3 beat mark. And so now, having done that, that took 5 minutes to go through each of the 7 parts and move some of those note lengths. Let's have a listen to the whole thing.
Sailing down beyond the far horizon.
Sounds really well integrated. Just solo that. Okay, so that's hopefully a good introduction to Variaudio. the small number of tools you need in order to be able to do an awful lot of work. And there you go, from a pretty horrible set of harmonies that were totally out of tune and not worthy of anything. We now have quite a polished sound. That's Variaudio. So thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.